Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women Have Needs To. Thank you so much for joining us today. Women have needs to. Right now, I need to learn about the journey to love. And today we're talking with Brooke Tera Sundri, and we're talking about the journey to love within ourselves. Right, Brooke?
Yeah, yeah. It's a topic that you'll notice that it always starts with ourselves when I'm talking about something.
Well, and it's true. It does start with ourselves. And I just wanted to point out that I'm wearing the color of love today.
Red.
And if it takes wearing red to remind yourself to love yourself, then I suggest do what it takes to remind yourself. Put little red things around your house or in your car just to remind yourself that love starts with you first. Is that good?
Wow, that's so important. We as women get so busy and so caught up on doing everything for everyone else. And we fly out of bed in the morning to the alarm, and we're up and we're at it. And we're getting kids ready or husbands ready or what have you, getting to work on time. Wherever you're at in life, we tend to become super busy that we don't actually take a moment to be present in ourselves. And I think you mentioned it, Linda, in the last episode, which was we're all just wanting the same thing. We all just want love. And that doesn't necessarily mean intimacy on a sexual level. It doesn't necessarily mean sexual love, but we all just need and want to be loved. And that starts with us. We can give ourselves that. We don't need to look outside of ourselves. We can give ourselves that love. And when we're giving ourselves that love, everyone else wants to give it to us too, because like attracts like energetically. Yeah.
Let's give some examples of how we can love ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. One of the first things I tell people is just start your day differently. Start your day. Just take it's 2 to 5 minutes out of your day to start with that love. Because like I say, we jump out of bed and that's it. We're at it. Yeah. Start that day with the love. So before you get out of bed, just give yourself a hug. Take a moment to feel your whole body, starting at the feet, coming up, just squeeze and touch, feel the energy, rest your hands there. Don't forget the genitals, the abdomen, the breast, because these areas are filled with emotion and they need love. The other thing you can do is, most people have a shower in the morning. Just give yourself a nice body massage with some beautiful oil before you jump in the shower. Again, starting at the feet, coming up, not missing anywhere, just touching yourself, nurturing yourself, being present with yourself. It takes a minute.
It does.
And it really does bring you back to
we covered that, and I think the first episode, and I've been doing it ever since, and I love it.
Yeah, and because it is bringing you back to your presence.
It does. I like a way to love yourself and show yourself some love is to forgive yourself.
Oh my Lord. And that's actually one of the things I had to discuss today.
Oh,
forgiveness
really?
Is so important. Yes. I say forgiveness is an act of self-love.
It is.
Because and you don't even have to know what you're forgiving yourself for. Just forgive yourself for anything and everything. Through life we are so hard on ourselves and we store this stuff inside ourselves. Forgiveness is an act of self-love. Even when you're forgiving someone else, it's an act of self-love, because it stops everything eating away at you. Stop being hard on yourself. Stop holding that stuff from the past inside yourself and just forgive. I'm so pleased you brought that up, Linda. That is the first thing. I know I've talked about vibrational patterns within us before.
Yes.
And that the optimal vibration on a scale is 520 to 700 hertz. And that is the vibration of love, right? And there's music you can download, and there's things like, crystal bowls and Tibetan bowls that vibrate at those frequencies. There's all sorts of things. But we can bring ourselves to that stage by the act of forgiveness and the act of self-love. Yeah. When we carry guilt and fear and shame, that lowers our vibration to almost dead. It's really, really harmful to our whole body and our whole existence and our joy. Who doesn't want joy in their life?
Yeah, well, we, like you said before, and I think we said it in the last episode, is that we are so busy. A lot of times the alarm clock goes off, we hit the ground running, we literally hit the ground and we're off to the shower or off to work out or and then off to work or whatever we're doing with our day. And we have these busy days and we forget to take the time to appreciate ourselves and remind ourselves that, you know, I love myself. And then we get on with the day and, you know, somebody cuts us off in traffic. Somebody says something not so nice at work. Maybe a spouse or one of your children says something not so nice. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's not one thing, it's 10. And we forget. So if we start the day off on that right foot and the self massage, I feel like when we come across these instances where somebody's cutting us off in traffic, you know, somebody says something not so nice to us, we have the self love, so we don't have to project anger, we can project love.
Correct. Oh my Lord, you say it so beautifully.
I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say I do it all the time. You know, I may have said a couple cuss words to people, but I've tried. What I try to do when people cut me off in traffic, I just laugh and smile at them and wave, and I'm like, really, I'm thinking, I can't believe you just did that. You put both of our lives. You put both of our lives in danger. I'm going home, you know, to my family, and I don't appreciate it, but gosh, please stay safe on the road so I don't have to come around you again.
Right. So projecting that love actually projects the energy. You have a much better day, and hopefully so do they.
Right.
Yeah. Why anger ourselves? Why put ourselves in that state? But when we haven't given ourselves the love to start with, it comes so easily. And we have to remember we're created out of love. That's why we crave love. That's why we need love. We just have to remember to come from love. We're always looking for a quick fix. We're the experts at distraction. And all that does is lead us into emotional distancing or addictions or busyness, right?
Right.
That quick fix, looking for busyness. Yeah, I want to talk about something really interesting here. I want to talk about, let's go back to when we were in our mother's womb. And it's really relevant for those people who are still going to have it, you know, on the path to having children as well. When we're in the mother's womb, we absorb their energetic imprint. So if our mothers are filled with love and calmness, we absorb that. But if they're in a traumatic situation, let's say they're stressed about finances or they're in a harmful relationship, what have you, we're absorbing that imprint as well.
I totally believe that. I have witnessed where a mother was, I mean, just hypertension during her pregnancy, and the child still in their 30s is dealing with stress.
Right. Because from the moment they're conceived, the stress hormone balance is different, right?
Yeah.
So they're living off their mother's stress hormones, and this is right. And you know, sometimes you get very aware people who with the first pregnancy can be great, but then that child might be very ill or unwell, or there's circumstances in their life when they're pregnant with the next one, and you can see the difference in the children.
Yeah.
The emotional imprint comes through in a physiological aspect and in our behaviors, and we can change that through the act of self-love, because remember, at the end of the day, we're created out of love. We're wanting to absorb the imprint of love, but we haven't done. So we can do that ourselves. We don't need to rely on our mother or anyone else to do that for us.
Right.
We need to do it ourselves. And it just starts with the simple things, like you say, forgiveness. To me, what it is forgiveness, a set of values, having a set of values, knowing what your set of values are, creating them, living by them. That's really important. When you live by your values, it's very easy to love yourself.
Yeah.
You can't be hard on yourself when you've lived by your values. That is self-love.
Yes, I agree. I love it.
Mm.
So we talked about forgiveness. and, getting up in the morning and showing ourselves some attention. I mean, you don't have to have a full body orgasm or anything to start your morning out right.
That's right. That's right.
Might help, but
You've got the time.
at the time, sure, why not? But forgiveness and patience with yourself. And I know, sometimes I am running all over, and I'll have, a bad moment where I'm like, you idiot, what were you thinking? But these aren't the right words. These aren't the right words. These aren't the right actions.
Right. Our subconscious mind is just like the energy imprint we absorb in our mother's womb. Our subconscious mind will absorb whatever you give it. It doesn't differentiate.
I love that. Our subconscious mind will believe whatever. What did you say?
Will absorb whatever you give it.
Whatever you give it.
So we use these words to ourselves. If you weren't thinking, that was stupid, whatever. Our subconscious mind goes, oh, you're stupid. There's no self-love in that. That's lowering your vibrational energy in which you live. There's no self-love. That makes it harder.
Right.
Harder to live by your values, harder to forgive yourself, harder to just love yourself. Just so that having that, it's a really good point. Having awareness of not just the words we use, but the way we think.
Yes.
There's so many studies out there that show the power of our thoughts. You can Google things on the internet. I'm not going to go into detail now, but we know the power of our thoughts that travel through the water, which of course is in every cell in our body, is phenomenal. So just start having loving thoughts about yourself. And if that means, I know people who, we use all sorts of different techniques, set an alarm on their phone or their watch or what have you to go off every hour. And at that time, every hour, you can do it in the car, you can do it at the office, you can do it on the train, what have you. Every hour, taking a few breaths, really being present with your breathing and thinking a positive, beautiful, loving thought.
Breathe at all.
We don't breathe properly. We hold all this stale air in. So even just giving yourself that beautiful, fresh breath and all that oxygen to your brain and your cells, and at the same time, having a loving thought.
Yeah, I like
as hard as it might be, you might be really down on yourself, right? Just give yourself loving thought. If you're doing that every hour, imagine how that's changing your subconscious.
No kidding. And changing your internal vibration, right?
Right.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. And go ahead.
I was going to say, we're born with a natural tendency to love. That's why we all crave it. Yeah, we're born with that natural tendency, but we live in a very competitive world. Again, the masculine world. We live in a very competitive world, and we lose ourselves in that. That limits us, to be honest. It really limits us when it comes to love and intimacy and all that competitiveness. It brings us into the state of fear and not being good enough, and all of those negative, low vibrational thoughts and actions. So it sounds crazy that we should have to spend time doing what we came into this world to do, which is to love and be loved. But unfortunately, because we are in this competitive and masculine world, and we are so busy, we do need to actually create the time just to recreate ourselves from a perspective of love.
You said something, and we do. You said something that I would like to, I don't know if we can speak to it today or not, but living a life without limitations. Living a life without limitations. I think each of us subconsciously, and maybe sometimes not subconsciously, consciously, put limitations on ourselves.
Very much so.
Are there steps, and are these part of the steps with living a life without limitations? Because we limit ourselves with our careers, we limit ourselves with our partners, we limit ourselves with our children, we limit ourselves with the world, now.
With our money, with our emotions,
living a life without limitations. If you out there listening to this, if you could just think of a life without limitations, what would that look like for you? And Brooke, can we give just a few steps? And I know all of this that we've talked about in the last 4 or 5 episodes, including this one, are good steps to leading a life without limitations. But do you have any key points for that? Can you speak to
It's
that?
funny, Linda, I have to say, I learned to live without limitations purely by accident, actually.
Really?
Because
Me too,
I
I think.
For the majority of my life, I didn't have guidance. I didn't have plans. I didn't have a focus. I just, things would happen and come along and it would evolve and one thing would lead to another. And I had amazing opportunities throughout my life. And perhaps when I look back now, I think that's because I didn't have the plan and the goal and the focus. So these opportunities would come in that weren't anything I would have originally planned. And I'd go, oh, okay, that's
Right.
interesting. Let's roll with it, right? So I evolved in a direction I would never have planned to evolve in. And I learned to live without limitations, to not be restricted by my thoughts, my ideas, my ideals, and the people around me. But I think in all honesty, the advice from my perspective that I'm able to give people really comes back to starting with self-intimacy. Everything we do in breaking down those barriers within ourselves then expands us as individuals, as human beings, as spiritual people on every level. It expands us beyond those limitations that we not just set for ourselves, but within society. As we've grown up, we've allowed society to set upon us. And our world that we've all grown up in is very different for all of us.
Yes.
But each of us has had limitations placed on us by our world. We've allowed those limitations to remain. Yeah. And I'm not saying we shouldn't live by moral standards or anything like that. It's not about that, but It's just about expanding ourselves to be bigger and more, I guess.
And we're
not
saying
to limit
this,
ourselves.
We're saying this as the world around us is starting to have more limitations.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, wow. I've got goosebumps. I hadn't even connected the importance of this topic. Yes, so much so. And it's not even about necessarily being bigger people. It's about being authentic and true to on the level of who we are as a soul. Yeah, that's what it's about, really finding our true selves. And to do that, we need to eliminate limitations. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
Eliminate limitations. Yeah. A new mantra. Eliminate limitations. It's such a great mantra. Eliminate limitations. We could do a Brangelina thing and say eliminations or a limitation.
Limitations.
Limitations. Oh gosh. We have to keep a sense of humor in every aspect of our lives, right?
Right. Keeps us sane, but it's joy. I'm going to bring back that word. I use it more and more nowadays. It's so
it's a great word.
I believe
it's a word that we don't we don't think about keeping it in our lives on a daily basis. Well, I do, but there's a lot of people who don't. I mean, if I start to feel a little down, I'll put some music on I'll dance. I will. I dance around the house. I sing, and I whistle while I work. No, I don't whistle, but I do sing while I work. But there's different things for different people. What sparks joy in their life, and joy is so important.
Do something. Take 5 minutes out of your day and do something, even if you have to set your alarm 5 minutes earlier because you're that busy, or stay up late 5 minutes longer. Do one thing in your day every day that brings you joy. Yes. Because with joy you are giving yourself self-love, and that's why I use the word joy so often, because love and joy are intertwined.
Yes. And
it doesn't cost money. It doesn't take time.
No. Yeah. And the one thing that brings you joy probably doesn't cost money. I mean, there's some people who go out shopping because that's what they enjoy. I'm not one of those people. But is it a real joy? Is it just a mask? You know what I mean?
It's a distraction.
I'm not here
to dissect anybody's
joy, but my point is that if we take, like you say, the 5 minutes to do something joyful, whether it's, doing your 50 sit-ups, if that's what brings you joy, or if you go outside, like sometimes I'll go outside on my balcony and enjoy the sunshine and look at the water and enjoy the fresh air and watch a bird flying by, or sometimes a plane, because I get joy out of watching planes. I think it's a sense of freedom for me. But that 5 minutes, the 5 minutes, it re-energizes you.
Right.
And it
Sit under a tree with a cup of cocoa. Or, yeah, it doesn't matter.
and it opens up new hope and new life, to a new thought, to a new positive thought. And one little thing will, domino into more joyful things and greater joyful things. Instead of the domino effect going down, let's do the domino effect going upwards, elevating you and your joy and your love for yourself. And when you have more joy for yourself, you have more love for everybody else. And this world needs love now more than ever, right?
More than ever. And look, you become magnetic when you're filled with joy. Not only are you living a happier, more joyful, more fun, pleasant life, your body's filled with joy. It's healthier. It's natural. You don't have to change anything else in your life. You will improve your health through living with joy and love, right? And then you'll have magnetism because of that attracts other people to you. So socially, you'll be filled with love and joy. It just flows. And like you say, we need that now more than ever.
We do. And we're out of time again. It goes so fast. It goes so fast.
It means we're having fun.
Do we have any more tips for anybody before we leave on their journey to love?
Look, I think that's enough. Just the daily thoughts, and do something that fills you with joy. Something really simple, really small, every day that fills you with joy. That's an act of self-love. And I'm going to refer back to your tip at the start: forgiveness. A massive act of self-love.
Yes, it's good to remember. And what I'm taking from this today is eliminating limitations. Limitations, because
wow, so many tips in today's episode.
We did. Oh my gosh, we jam-packed it in this last 20-something minutes, but it was jam-packed with good information. And again, Brooke Tera Sundri, thank you so much. Again, tell us where people can find you.
My pleasure. They can find me on Facebook, Messenger, or email.
Fantastic. Brooke, Broke, Tera, Tra, -Sundri, Sundri, right? I'm going to try to put a Flashkins page. But thank you so much for joining us today. And Brooke Tera Sundri, thank you so much. Women have needs too. Right now, I need to find that journey to love. Stay inspired, stay empowered. Have a great day.